Hello guys, my name is Jerry Flex. Welcome to the channel. Today I'm going to speak on former Minneapolis police officers Derek Chauvin's conviction of murder in the George Floyd case. I give a shout out to the judge, Peter Cahill, and the jury for making sure that we got some justice. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. First of all, I'd like to congratulate Judge Peter Cahill, the judge who presided over the George Floyd case, and the jury who helped convict Derek Chauvin of his heinous crime. He murdered poor 46-year-old black man George Floyd last year in May by kneeling on his neck. That was despicable, to say the least, and many protests occurred, rightfully so, and people didn't know if Derek Chauvin was going to get off. I mean, I was speaking to my coworkers the other day, and they were saying that, you know, they wouldn't be surprised. They wouldn't have been surprised if Derek Chauvin had gotten off. And I can understand why, but I'm glad that, you know, people who thought that the system was completely screwed were proven wrong in a way. I can understand why they were doubtful, but this was just so obvious and so heinous that something had to be done. And in a way, it's also kind of hypocritical, because if Derek Chauvin hadn't been convicted, you know, there would have been a lot of political fallout, not to mention social fallout, lots of unrest, and so forth. And it's a shame that it had to take his death to bring more awareness to the necessity for police reform. He shouldn't have had to die for us to realize, for politicians to make a bigger deal and bring more attention to this issue that's been happening for decades. Black people have been oppressed for decades, unfairly treated by police. But this was so obvious that even the naysayers couldn't say it anymore. People even on Fox News, they acknowledged it. Conservative politicians, both Democrats and Republicans, applauded the verdict. And that makes me happy, but at the same time, you know, it's kind of sad that, you know, it had to get to this point for them to come together and finally, you know, the naysayers admit that black people have been unfairly treated in this country by police officers. Does that mean all cops are bad? No. I stand with law enforcement, but, you know, there is definitely an issue. There has been an issue in the way that black people seem to be targeted, and that needs to be addressed. That has been needing to be addressed for years, but the death of George Floyd put a huge spotlight on that. And I thank President Biden for applauding the George Floyd Justice in Policing Act, which is an act passed by the House, which calls for greater accountability of the police and to end some of the practices, if I recall correctly, aimed at that target black folks. I hope this act is passed by Congress. Again, it's called the George Floyd Justice in Policing Act, and I hope that real, true, genuine police reform takes place. Do I think that the police should be defunded? Not necessarily. I mean, you have to have a police force for a civil society to function. But if they need to be retrained, they need to be retrained. You shouldn't be shooting people or killing people just because you think you have the law on your side. Do I think all cops are evil? No. And I'm glad that the family of George Floyd have finally gotten some solace. But again, this is not the total justice. This is just a little bit of justice. A lot more needs to be done. And this could happen to anyone. It could have been a white guy, you know, being knelt on by a police officer. So we need to start looking at each other as human beings, black, white, Asian, you name it. And I just hope that this verdict is the right, it's only the beginning in the transformation of America, so that we have a more inclusive and fair society, so that people aren't targeted because of their skin color. Joy Flex out.